Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Timeless Wisdom. Have you ever observed certain older individuals and thought to yourself, how do they still manage to do that? Aging has a rhythm of its own. Some slow down, some gracefully take a pause. But then there are those rare gems people who seem to shine even brighter as the years go by. These individuals continue to do things that many others their age gave up long ago. But it's not about running marathons or chasing extreme fitness goals. No, these are quiet, meaningful actions, the kind that reveal deep emotional strength, sharpness of mind, and a wisdom that only grows richer with time. In today's video, we're going to explore 5 unexpected things that, if you're still doing them between the ages of 70 and 85, mark you as a truly rare and admirable soul. These aren't ordinary daily habits. They're subtle but powerful signs of resilience, curiosity, and a life lived with grace and intention. As we go through this list, you may find yourself nodding along, recognizing these traits in your own life, or perhaps seeing a beloved parent, grandparent, or friend reflected in these qualities. Either way, you'll gain a deeper appreciation for just how extraordinary it is to keep growing, laughing, and nurturing your inner light as the years pass. So, if you're someone who believes that growth, kindness, independence, and joy have no age limit, stay with me. By the end of this video, you might just realize that you or someone you love is a far rarer gem than you ever imagined. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos celebrating graceful aging, self-discovery, and the quiet strengths that make life so meaningful. And if this topic resonates with you, give this video a like. It helps our community reach more people who believe in living life fully at every stage. Now, let's begin this journey and uncover the 5 remarkable things that make certain people shine even brighter between 70 and 85. Number 1. Still learning new skills. There's something quietly remarkable about someone in their 70s or 80s who still approaches life with the mindset of a beginner. If you're still learning new skills, whether it's using a smartphone, trying your hand at painting, mastering video calls with grandkids, or even starting a new language, you are showing a rare and powerful form of mental agility that defies every stereotype about aging. Most people slow down, not just physically, but mentally. They settle into routines, repeat familiar tasks, and gradually stop reaching out for new information. But those who continue learning are wired differently. They stay curious. They stay mentally active. And perhaps most importantly, they remain open to change. That openness is a treasure in itself. You see, the brain is like a muscle. It needs to be challenged. And while physical activity keeps the body young, learning new skills is what keeps the mind young. Seniors who continue to learn, especially after retirement, often experience better memory, sharper problem-solving skills, and even a more positive outlook on life. They wake up with purpose because they've given themselves something new to explore. Take the example of Frank, a 78-year-old former school janitor who decided to learn how to play the piano. He'd never touched a keyboard in his life, but he watched videos online, practiced each morning after breakfast, and slowly taught himself basic melodies. It wasn't about becoming a performer. It was about the joy of doing something new. Now, a few years later, he plays for his great-grandkids when they visit. His hands may move slower, but his mind is vibrant. That kind of story isn't rare among lifelong learners. Whether it's picking up watercolor painting, joining a community class on local history, or even tinkering with a new tablet, these actions all signal something much deeper. You still believe in your ability to grow. And that belief creates a ripple effect throughout the rest of your life. Psychologists have long known that people who engage in lifelong learning tend to have stronger self-esteem and better emotional resilience. Why? Because when you learn something new, you remind yourself that you're capable, that you're still evolving, and that no matter your age, you can still surprise yourself. In a world that often assumes older adults have nothing new to discover, being a learner sets you apart. It keeps you relevant, not just in conversations with younger folks, but in how you relate to the world around you. You're not stuck in the past, you're part of the present. So, if you're in your 70s or 80s and still picking up new skills, take a moment to realize how rare that is. You're not just passing the time, you're demonstrating something powerful. You're saying, I still have more to experience. I still have more to give. And in doing so, you become a quiet inspiration to everyone who knows you. Number 2, offering emotional support to others. There's a quiet strength in being the person others come to when life feels heavy. If you're between 70 and 85 and people still lean on you for emotional support, whether it's a neighbor needing advice, a younger family member looking for comfort, or even an old friend sharing their burdens, you are doing something truly rare. You're offering the kind of calm, steady presence that the world deeply needs, but only a few are able to give. Emotional support isn't always loud or obvious. It can show up in a gentle nod, a knowing smile, or just the way you listen without rushing to respond. It's in the simple way you say, I've been there. And suddenly, someone else doesn't feel so alone. And when you've lived through decades of love, loss, change, and growth, that kind of wisdom becomes your superpower. What makes this so unexpected is how rare it becomes with age. Many people begin to shrink into themselves as they get older, often feeling overlooked or disconnected from the world around them. But not you. If you're still showing up for others emotionally, still making space for their pain, their stories, their joy, you've held on to something incredibly valuable, your sense of empathy. And empathy, especially at your age, is not just kindness. It's courage, because it means you've walked through enough of life's storms to understand what people feel, but you haven't let those storms make you cold. You've stayed open. You've stayed kind. That alone sets you apart. Take the story of Betty, an 82-year-old widow who began volunteering at a local grief support group after losing her husband. She didn't have a psychology degree. She didn't come in with all the answers, but what she did have was presence. When she spoke, people listened. When she stayed quiet, people felt safe. And over time, her ability to simply be there for others became one of the most healing parts of that group. People like Betty don't just offer advice, they offer peace. And if you're someone who does that too, you're more than just supportive. You're a rare light in a world that often moves too fast and feels too noisy. You give people a place to land when they feel unsteady. Psychologically speaking, older adults who continue to provide emotional care for others also tend to feel more fulfilled themselves. It reinforces your sense of purpose. It keeps your heart engaged with the people around you. And perhaps most importantly, it shows that no matter what you've gone through, you've chosen to remain loving and connected. That's not common. In fact, it's incredibly special. If at your age you're still showing up for others, still lifting them up when they're down, you are doing something that many half your age still struggle to master. And in doing so, you're proving that strength doesn't always come from muscles or memory. It comes from compassion. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, staying curious about the world. There's something deeply inspiring about someone in their 70s or 80s who still lights up with curiosity. If you're the kind of person who keeps asking questions, who still enjoys learning, who picks up a new book or watches documentaries not just to pass time but to understand more about the world, then you are a true gem. Why? Because staying curious at this stage of life is far more powerful than most people realize. As we age, it's easy, too easy really, for our worlds to shrink. The routines become tighter. The familiar becomes more comfortable, and we start to believe that everything worth learning has already been learned, but not you. If you still wake up wondering, what can I discover today? You're doing something rare and remarkable. Curiosity keeps the brain alive. Studies have shown that seniors who remain mentally engaged and open to new information have better memory retention, lower risk of cognitive decline, and even greater emotional resilience. That's not just theory, it's science. Curiosity creates new neural connections. It keeps your brain flexible, your perspective fresh, and your spirit young. Think about Howard, a retired mailman in his late 70s who decided to take up astronomy after watching a documentary on the stars. He bought a simple telescope, joined a local stargazers club, and now spends his evenings charting constellations and learning about planets. He says, "It makes me feel small, but in a good way, like I'm still part of something bigger." That's the gift of curiosity. It reminds you that the world is still wide, even when your body isn't as quick as it once was. And curiosity doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as asking your grandson how his video game works, or as profound as reading about a new philosophy that challenges your beliefs. The point is that you haven't shut the door on growth. You still see life as an open book, not a closed chapter. Psychologically, this attitude keeps people emotionally balanced and hopeful. Curious people tend to be less judgmental and more adaptable. They navigate changes, whether it's in society, technology, or personal relationships, with more grace, because they aren't afraid to say, "I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out." And in a world where cynicism often grows with age, your curiosity is a quiet rebellion. It says, you haven't given in to apathy. You haven't stopped caring. You're still engaged, still fascinated, still alive in the truest sense. If that sounds like you, then please know your mind is a rare gift. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're still eager to ask the questions. And that quality, especially in your golden years, is a shining example to everyone around you. Number 4, speaking kindly about yourself. If you're between 70 and 85 and you've learned to speak kindly about yourself, that's extraordinary. That's rare, that's strength. Because, believe me, most people spend their whole lives criticizing themselves in their own minds. And by the time they reach their golden years, that internal voice has worn them down. But if you've trained yourself or naturally grown into someone who says things like, "I'm proud of how far I've come," or "I did my best," then you're not just lucky, you're wise. You see, aging can often come with a surprising amount of self-doubt. We reflect more. We remember mistakes. We wonder if we were good parents, good spouses, good humans. And sadly, many older adults let those questions become self-punishment. But you, if you've made peace with your past and speak to yourself like a dear friend, that's no small feat. It takes strength to speak softly to your own heart. It takes maturity to look in the mirror and see not wrinkles or regrets, but experience. And that kind of inner voice doesn't just happen. It's cultivated through years of hardship, through learning how to let go, through realizing that perfection was never the goal. Growth was. Psychologists often say that the voice we use with ourselves becomes our emotional home. If that home is full of judgment, we shrink. If it's full of compassion, we thrive. So if you've built a gentle, forgiving, and encouraging voice inside, you've created a sanctuary, one that protects your mind from bitterness, your spirit from resentment, and your relationships from unnecessary strain. Let me give you an example. Margaret, a retired nurse from Ohio in her early 80s, once said something that stuck with me. She said, "I used to beat myself up for not doing enough. Now I say, Margaret, you did the best you could with what you knew at the time." That one sentence changed how I sleep at night. That's not just healing, that's wisdom in action. And here's something powerful to understand. People who speak kindly to themselves also tend to speak more kindly to others. That means you're probably a source of peace for your family, your friends, and even strangers. Your words carry calm. Your tone eases tension, and your presence reminds others that it's okay to be imperfect and still worthy of love. In a world that constantly tells us we're never enough, not young enough, not healthy enough, not productive enough, your self-compassion is a quiet act of rebellion. You're telling the world and yourself that being enough isn't something to earn, it's something to recognize. So if you catch yourself saying, "I've lived a good life," or "I like who I am today," take a moment to acknowledge that, because that mindset didn't come easy. It's the result of 1,000 inner battles won, the kind most people will never even see. And that makes you not just rare, but remarkable. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 5, staying curious about life. If at age 70, 75, or even 85, you're still curious, still asking questions, still reading, still exploring new ideas, you're a rare and beautiful soul. Curiosity at that stage of life is not just a trait. It's a quiet declaration that your spirit is still very much alive. And believe me, that makes you one in a million. Because here's the truth. Most people at some point stop asking why or how or what else. They settle into routines. They assume they've learned all there is to know. They stop being surprised by the world. But if you're someone who still picks up books, still tries new foods, still watches documentaries, still asks your grandkids about their interests, that's not just impressive, that's inspiring. You see, staying curious is one of the best ways to stay young at heart. It keeps your brain active, your outlook fresh, and your relationships richer. Curiosity means you haven't let life wear you down into passivity. You're still reaching, still growing, still opening yourself to the unknown. That takes courage, especially in a world that often tells older folks to sit down, be quiet, and let the world move on without them. And there's a psychological benefit to all of this too. Studies show that older adults who stay intellectually curious often experience better memory, sharper reasoning, and lower levels of depression. That's because curiosity creates movement, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. It gives you something to look forward to. It invites surprise, and surprise is one of the ingredients of joy. Let me tell you about Robert, a 78-year-old gentleman from Arizona. Every morning he watches one educational video online about history, nature, or science. He says it gives him something new to think about every day. One day, it was the mating habits of penguins. The next, it was how coffee beans are processed in Ethiopia. "I may never travel again," he said, "but my mind gets to go somewhere new each day." That's the power of staying curious. What's more, curiosity helps you connect across generations. When you ask your grandchild how TikTok works, or what books they're reading in school, or how 3D printing is changing medicine, you're building bridges. You're saying, "I'm still part of the conversation." And that sends a message not just to others, but to yourself. I still matter. And don't underestimate the impact that has. People notice when someone your age is still growing. It gives them hope. It tells them that aging doesn't have to mean shrinking, that the mind and soul can keep expanding right to the very end. So, if you're still lighting up when you learn something new, if you still say, "That's interesting," when someone shares a fact, if you still sit in quiet awe when watching the sunset or hearing a bird you've never heard before, you are truly a gem in this world, because your curiosity is a light. And in a world that too often dims with age, your light stands tall, steady, and bright. Final reflections, timeless wisdom. If you've stayed with me until now, and found yourself nodding, smiling, or perhaps feeling a bit emotional, that says something very important. You're still growing. You're still searching, still caring, and still believing that your life, your choices, and your heart continue to matter deeply in this world. And let me tell you, they do, now more than ever. Reaching the age of 70, 80, or beyond isn't the final chapter of your story. It's one of the most powerful ones, a chapter filled with wisdom, grace, and a depth of beauty that many younger people haven't yet discovered. But in a world that often overlooks or underestimates the value of age, it's easy to forget just how extraordinary you are. That's why recognizing and celebrating the 5 quiet yet powerful things you're still doing is so important. Whether it's choosing kindness when bitterness would be easier, holding on to your independence in the smallest, unnoticed ways, setting healthy boundaries, offering generosity without expecting anything in return, or nurturing your curiosity and thirst for learning. These are not ordinary habits. These are acts of quiet strength and grace. They're your superpowers, even if no one says it out loud. Maybe the people around you are too busy to notice. Maybe you've been too humble to point it out yourself. But remember this, just because it's unspoken doesn't mean it's unseen. You're the kind of person others look at and quietly admire. You're the living proof that age doesn't dim the light within us. It sharpens it, polishes it, and makes it shine even brighter. So, never let anyone convince you that your actions, your choices, or your presence no longer count. They do. You are leading by example not just for yourself, but for your children, grandchildren, neighbors, and even strangers who watch you and think, I hope I'm like that when I reach that age. You are not ordinary. You are not invisible. You are holding on to your dignity, kindness, curiosity, and compassion in a world that often tells people to let those things go. That makes you rare. That makes you a 1 in a million gem. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us today. Now, I would love to hear from you. What's one thing you took away from this video, and how do you plan to carry it forward in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters here, and reading your reflections truly encourages and inspires our entire community. If this video touched you or made you think, please give it a like, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content that celebrates you and the beauty of living with purpose at every age. And don't forget to share this video with someone you know who deserves to hear these words today. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content that uplifts, informs, and connects. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and never forget how truly extraordinary you are.